Hi everyone. So today I'm going to talk about a review of a book that I did, and it's Combat Codes. And this book, I actually got it as an ARC from NetGalley, so thank you, NetGalley. Actually, this was my first ARC, and I'm so excited that I liked the book, that I got picked to do this book, so thank you for taking a chance on me. This review will be, my 100% honesty. I'm actually reviewing this. I finished it technically when I'm doing this video the day before, but this video is getting delayed and being posted just because I want it to be closer to the release date. So when you're seeing this, it'll be closer to the release date, and I recommend getting those pre-orders in if this sounds like something you'll like. But I really did enjoy this book. I was really happy that I liked the book, that I got to review this ahead of time, so I'm so excited. I'd probably give this, if you like, star ratings are kind of hard, but I'd probably give this maybe more of a 4.5 kind of rating. There were some things I did love. For the most part, I loved the majority of it, but there was a couple things that I had trouble with. And mainly the things that I had trouble with was just the fact that it was hard for me to picture a lot of things in the world. It's more of like a, so I'll go through and describe it first. It's more of like a sci-fi martial arts kind of book. And so this book is about where problems are solved through fighting, more specifically hand-to-hand combat martial arts style fighting. And literally this is how problems are solved, like between nations. It's an advanced world, so it's like a sci-fi, the technology is advanced, but they are so advanced that they have, the weapons of mass destruction. And so in order to avoid essentially destroying everything, they decided to have designated fighters fight other designated fighters of their nations to help resolve like any type of nation's problems, like maybe who's going to get control over a certain food source or a certain mining area, or who has territorial, disputes. That gets resolved through these fights. And there's a certain type of person who does these fights, and they're called, it's called the Grievers. And the Griever Knights are the ones who are the specialized, they're the ones that are the fighters that are going to be in these massive fights. Because they have, obviously smaller ones that they'll do, but the important ones, you want your trained knight who is going to win. So they have this school that they can go and get the training done through them and everything. So they do get, their education is like, all on the fighting styles. And so it is a really interesting concept. And I will say this book is extremely fast-paced. There is always something going on. There is always a fight. And I liked that because it made it really interesting. And I always felt like my heart was really high reading this book because I'm just like, oh my goodness, like there's always a fight. And like, what's going to happen, And so it was fun to be able to read that because it was just like, I was never bored. I was always entertained with the book. There was a lot of characters I liked, and then the ones that the author doesn't want you to like, you really don't like. So I like that too. So there were a lot of times when they were talking, I'm just like, oh my goodness, these people are irritating me. So I like when an author can actually make you not like the characters they don't want you to like. And that happens in this one. So I was pretty happy with that. But yeah, so these Grievers, they're starting at a young age where they're just always fighting. They are essentially bred to fight. And the main quote, the main line is, we fight so the rest shall not have to. That's kind of their motto. There are these combat codes that they're supposed to live by. The thing is things have started to get corrupt where they're trying to warp these codes and not quite have them apply quite so much anymore because they want to win. And there are certain people that still just live by these codes. And every once in a while throughout the book, you'll get that. You'll see, because the codes are more about honor and sacrifice. It's more about, being more altruistic and just looking out for the others. Whereas they want to be more like, I don't care, I'm going to kill my opponent in this ring. It's more aggressive. They'll do anything to win. They'll play dirty. So it's like you're getting that kind of tension between that. That's a lot of the tension in the book. And our main characters, there's two main characters in the book. There's Murray and there's Seago. And I don't know if it's pronounced differently, but that's how I've been pronouncing it in my head. So Murray, he is an ex-Griever Knight. He was a huge fighter. He won everything. Everyone knew who he was. But then he lost a fight that caused a lot of problems for his nation. They took a huge loss. And so since then, he's just been the scout who recruits and tries to find other potential grievers that can go to the school and train up to be griever knights. And that's where he finds Seago, who was in this underground, terrible area. He didn't remember how he got there, but he's an exceptionally good fighter. And so that's where Murray finds him, and, he tries to, recruit him to get him to go to this school. I don't want to give away too much, but this is just all in the beginning, and a lot of this is just on the back of the book even. So I'm not giving too much away, but I just want to give you the picture of, how our main characters are interacting. Seago, he's an orphaned boy who, he's just trying to survive in this underground. Fights are just essentially weeding out the weak from the strong. It's a pretty vicious time for him. But he lives by the codes. He was taught the codes, so you can definitely see the dynamic with him where he's trying to live by this honor standard, whereas a lot of his other potential, teammates and everything, they're just like, no, I'd rather just win, and I'll win at any cost. So you're really getting that dynamic with him. And it's fun, too, to get to see him with these training and these fights and how well he's doing. It kind of reminds you a little bit of, the Night Angel book or the Rage of Dragons, where you're getting, these training kind of scenes. And I always love those. I like those. And I like when the main character is good at what they do. I know some people, they want, their main character to have a lot of weaknesses. I don't tend to like that. I just want to read about them kicking everyone's butt. So I enjoy that. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the main thing that I wasn't a fan of is really hard for me to picture the world. There was a lot of terminology for certain parts of how things looked that I didn't really necessarily know what the author was going for. I pictured a modern setting in my head, but also a lot of the people aren't they don't look like your average person. So I had trouble grasping a lot of that. I'm not a huge sci-fi reader. I'm more of just a fantasy reader. But honestly, this didn't take away much from me. I wish I could have understood what kind of technology they have more. They have, it seems like, they have a lot of technology that they use, but a lot of it wasn't really described. I did like how with the fights there's all these spectrals, and depending on the color of these spectrals can depend on how the fight will influence them. So a certain color will either make them feel really confident or really aggressive, and they have to fight those feelings that they're getting to make sure they don't let that influence their fight. I liked that. There was all these various colors, and it was interesting to see how each one was affected by this. And I really liked the school setting too, when they're going through these trials to get to the school in order to be enrolled into that. Those were good scenes as well. I always like those kinds of scenes in books and everything where you have that education setting, because that's where you really find the other characters that are going to really offset your main character, and you really grow to like those side characters. So I was really happy with that. And then the other main complaint I had was probably the ending. There was a point in the book, probably 10 pages before it ended, that it felt like it would have done better to end there, because there was this revelation, and then the book didn't address that, and it kept going, and then it skipped some time. And so it was okay, so why didn't you just end on that cliffhanger revelation where, you're oh, what's going to happen in the next book? But it was weird. It just kept going, didn't address it, and then skipped some time and then ended. And I didn't know what to do with that. It just felt so abrupt. I was a little confused by why that ended the way it did. It felt really disjointed. I don't know. But those are probably my main complaints. Like I said, I loved everything else. I liked the main characters. I really liked the pacing and the fact that I was interested the whole time. And then also there's this thing. It's a little side note, but they have these things called flux tattoos. And the fighters get these, especially when they go to the school. And it's cool because they can move around and everything. So like they'll get like an initial one and they'll like move throughout their body, and it's like almost like a little like tattoo pet kind of thing. I liked that. I thought that was a really cool idea. So, but I would definitely recommend this book. I was super happy that this was my ARC because I enjoyed this, and this will be one that I will want to own. So I'll want to buy it. And then if you really like, the sci-fi and the martial arts setting, I'm not like someone who really understands a lot of the martial arts fight style, so I think that kind of hindered me a little bit too, where I'm not familiar with a lot of like, the positions and how they fight. If you are, this will be, probably way more fun for you. But I'm not a huge sci-fi person, and I really liked this. And I'm also not hugely knowledgeable on martial arts, and I still really like this. So I think even if you don't understand a lot of those, or if you're not really usually interested in them, I think you still would like this. It's just the fact that the pacing is really good. The tensions are usually pretty high, and the stakes are high, and it's just like constant. And I enjoyed that. I really did. So, but yeah, I think I would recommend this a go. Just, if you just enjoy fantasy and you just want something on the side to read, and you're just like, oh, I want to try this out. So definitely would recommend. Like I said, you will probably really enjoy this more if you, enjoyed the sci-fi and the martial arts. But this was definitely a unique read, and it was not what I expected, and I was really happy with it. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you want to check this out, I definitely recommend it. It'll be coming out soon, so get those pre-orders in. And thanks for watching.